I'm old enough to have lived through the 70s, and remember those little smiley yellow buttons that everybody wore? It was a big button era, and my favorite button of all time was this one. If you love something, let it go. If it doesn't come back, hunt it down and kill it. Hi, I'm Terry Real, the founder of Relational Life Therapy, here to teach you a little more about how to live relationally on this planet. And I want to talk today about one of the 5 losing strategies employed not by the wise adult part of you, prefrontal cortex, the part of you that can stop and think and consider and behave well. But the automatic part of you, we call it the adaptive child part of you, adaptive child, the part of you that adapted to what was ever going on in your childhood, the part of you that protected yourself and unfortunately may have internalized some of the very things that you were suffering from. I just spoke with a guy who was raised by harsh parents. He was never good enough for them. He spent years being depressed. He was never good enough for himself. Fought that off, and he's calling me after years of not talking to me because no woman is good enough for him in his relationships. And he realizes that he's internalized that harsh voice. So the adaptive child part of us is usually a reaction to what happened. It's how we cope, but it's also taking in what we learned. And many of us grew up in harsh, judgmental families. We know something about don't get mad, get even. Retaliation is the 4th of the 5 losing strategies of the adaptive child part of us. The part of us that many of us think of as an adult because we lived our whole lives out of the adaptive child, but it's not. We have a thoughtful, kinder, more mature part of us that we need to access if we're going to have decent relationships. So the adaptive child is that knee-jerk response that comes to you in the heat of the moment. There are 5 losing strategies that it's prone to. Could be one or some combination of being right. We're going to solve this when we figure out who's right, which of course is me, never you. Controlling my partner, which could be direct or indirect, as in enabling codependence. Unbridled self-expression, I call that the barf bag approach to intimacy. Let me tell you in detail what an idiot you are and how miserable I am. Oh, I feel closer, don't you? No. Retaliation, which is the one we're going to talk about now, and withdrawal, which we're going to do in a separate video. Retaliation, it is a normal human impulse. We all want to get even if we're honest with ourselves at time. It's a way of righting the wrong. It's a perverse sense of justice. A great book, James Gilligan, Carol Gilligan's husband, director of Bridgewater State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, wrote a book on violence, and he worked with serial killers. And he said even these extreme retaliators are heroes in their own story. I'm going to get even. I'm going to get back at you. And my wife, the great therapist Belinda Berman, really came up with the best way of understanding retaliation I've ever come across. She says retaliation is a perverse form of communication. It's a way of saying, I'm going to hurt you the way you hurt me so you'll understand. There's a sort of a unformed fantasy that when I do to you what you did to me, you're going to fall on your knees and go, oh my God, I get it. I'm so sorry. Good luck. Here's a bitter pill. I wish our penal system would understand this. You cannot make someone more empathic or more accountable by hurting them. It just doesn't work. Hurting someone does not increase their capacity for empathy. You get back at them and they'll defend themselves, they'll retaliate back and escalate, or they'll withdraw. This is not an opening to deeper understanding. I hurt you the way you hurt me. It is pure, angry victim. I hurt you the way you hurt me. And I have no shame or compunction about hurting you because I'm your victim. This is what Belinda and my great mentor, P.M. Melody, called offending from the victim position, OFF. Offending from the victim position. You hit me, so I get to hit you twice as hard back. And I'm just standing up for I deserve it. You deserve it. I deserve, no. I believe that along with naked resource grabs, offending from the victim position accounts for about 90% of the world's violence. You kill my brother, I'll kill your family. You kill my family, rape your grandmother. You rape my grandmother, I'll burn down your whole village, etc. This is the cycle of violence that plagues our planet. I get to hurt you back the way you hurt me, and then some. Of course, there are current political turmoils that come to mind. You attack me, I'll decimate you. And I have the right to do that. Offending from the victim position. I would invite you to step into a non-violent life. If someone hurts you, deal with it. Stand up to it. Try and deal with the offending person if they'll listen. If they're so offensive that leaning in and dealing with them will just escalate things or evoke a lot of defensive nonsense, don't confront an offender. Don't spit in the wind. It's not in your self-interest. But you might give it a try once or twice and not prejudge how they'll handle it. Some people might pleasantly surprise you. If it's clear that the difficult or abusive behavior is nothing the person's going to look at and be accountable for, then distance yourself. And, this is along a whole spectrum. I talk to people about this with their friendships. Oh, look, I have friends that are in a distant, friends are like concentric circles, and the ones I deeply trust, who resonate with me, who I can really count on, are in my innermost circle. But there are people in outer circles that I don't particularly trust. I would never ask them for anything, but if they show up and, for example, a colleague says, let's do a lecture together and it's not too complicated, sure, fine. I would never, go to them with an emotional vulnerability that, hey, you want to go to the movies a couple times a year? Okay. So trust is not an on-off switch. It's about discrimination. And you don't have to deep six every single person who may take some liberties from time to time, but you do have to deal with them politically and with self-care. The one thing you don't get to do is stab them in the neck as a way of trying to, quote unquote, get through them. Look, here's what happened. Somebody hurts you. They either reject you or they're not there for you in ways that you think they should be, or they out and out take liberties with you. And you feel hurt. Let me say that again. You feel hurt. You feel, judged or betrayed or not given to or disappointed or unloved or whatever you feel. One down, helpless. And depending on what you bring from your childhood, that may be a deep wound. We human beings don't like feeling vulnerable and helpless very much. It's a high-level skill of maturity to sit with uncomfortable feelings. Many of us don't. We go from the one down, hurt, helpless feelings to that great self-medication, one up, grandiosity. And we don't let ourselves feel very helpless. We move into attack. You son of a gun. You think you're going to get away with this? Well, watch this. I'm going to smash you to smithereens. It's a terrible way to be. It will do damage, obviously, to your relationships, but I think it's a toxic energy to bring into your own life. Contempt is poison Whether it's contempt that you direct at yourself, that's called shame, depression, or whether it's contempt you direct at someone else, that's called grandiosity, superiority, retaliation. Even if it's contempt for the rules. I used to think that contempt preceded emotional violence, and I've come to believe that contempt is emotional violence. Turn off the contempt conveyor belt. I'm sorry you chose to hurt, distance, disappoint, betray me. I'm going to deal with you about it. If we can deal with it and make repair, fantastic. We're closer. If we can't deal with it and make repair, I'm going to recalibrate where you exist in my solar system. But I'm going to resist the temptation of escaping my feelings of smallness, defectiveness, whatever I feel, in the face of your hurt. I'm going to digest my disappointment, which is a key skill for all intimate relationships, including friendship. I'm not going to act out. Grandiosity feels good in the short run. It creates misery in your life. Someone said, resentment is drinking poison and waiting for the other guy to die. I deserve to not retaliate. I deserve to live a non-violent life. You may deserve someone hurting you, but it ain't going to be me. You find somebody else to do that. I'm not your therapist, and I'm not your avenging angel. Self-righteous indignation, retaliation, and attack. The open secret is it all feels good. Getting drunk feels good. Acting out feels good in the moment. You got to be smart. It may feel good in the moment. It is not a good way to live your life. Here's for restraint. Here's for civility. Sigmund Freud once wrote, the first person to hurl an epithet instead of a rock was the creator of the civilization. You don't even have to hurl the epithet. Step into the light for your sake, for the sake of the people. If you found this helpful, subscribe to this station for lots of other tips I found helpful, both in my practice and in my own marriage. 38 years, I say all of the relational skills I teach have been clinically tested. Belinda's the clinic. Be well. I hope you subscribe and talk to you some more. Thanks for your